It's not right. Okay, perfect. And thanks for, again, helping understand the components that go in that to me, because a lot of what we're doing here is not something maybe that you haven't seen before. It's these different pieces like streaming and being able to do your data science off of that in a streaming manager and manage that in real time is the key components of this that are making such a huge difference in the clients that we're seeing and talking with on this, and such a big thing. And again, if you're a web focused user and you've been using some of these data science things and pulling in streaming data, some of this stuff is not going to be new to you guys, but it's just how we are packaging stuff. And you saw some of the new products that are going in, it's just to make it easier on you. And we want to be able to show off some of that as we continue to try to help you guys understand exactly what this means. And again, nothing new here, but a lot of things has changed. And the one we want to do and talk about first of all is what has changed. And I think everybody everybody out there who is either a consumer themselves or is creating IT for anybody understands already before we get in this, the world has changed that we live in. Now, for instance, no longer do I want to be able to just send a package to someone across the world or across the US. I want to be able to send that to them the next day. And not only that, I want to be able to see where my package is at any time in the process, or especially if I'm receiving it, I want to know where it's at on that process to get to me. So I want to know real time when things are happening. If I'm someone who goes to the grocery store and I use coupons, I'm not usually on the weekends on Sunday getting my Sunday paper and clipping out coupons anymore. Now I expect, because I have some type of program with the grocery store that I go to, I expect to be at them to know kind of what my buying habits are and offer me coupons that are significant to what I'm actually doing at that time. So maybe I'm walking down the bread aisle and it starts giving me coupons and saying, hey, these are some coupons you may want to look at. So it's actually in real time helping me figure out what I need to do. And then when I get ready to check out, I don't have to hand somebody a big old stack of stuff. It's already there in my app and it applies those automatically. And so my expectations are that that's going to happen in real time. And for us personally, our family is a Disney family and we've gone to Disney many times. So now I expect them to be able to understand when I call in the book, how many times have I been? What type of restaurants do I like to go to? Where do I like to stay? What type of activities do I like to do? And then Disney has taken that in their own words and plussed it and said, okay, now you're in the park and you got this app in your hand. I understand where you're at. I understand the activities you told me I want to do today. With the conditions we have right now, with the ride, wait for this ride being this long, these are the types of things that you want to do. And it's in real time there while I'm in the park streaming data and helping me understand how to maximize my experience there. Again, everything's just become that, and we expect that as consumers when we're working with people. The technology's there. So no longer can I get by with just saying, hey, I want to be able to do something. I have new expectations for how I'm doing that. And on the IT side of things now, we're seeing that as well as with data ops and model ops, as Porter mentioned. The ability to be able to get data when I need it and help get solutions out to people is no longer a month or 6 month process. In a lot of cases, I want to be able to say, I've got this data here. I want to be able to merge that up and pull the streaming data in here. And I need solutions now. So the expectations have changed. Our ability to be able to meet those has changed, thankfully, with that, with a lot of the new technologies that we're seeing. And we kind of want to walk again why this is important, and not just again from these things that we're talking about from an analytics perspective that we're putting in front of clients, but from a technology standpoint, being able to do that in real time. And we'll talk about a couple of use cases. I'm going to try to keep this to one use case, but I'll mention a few other things throughout this, and we'll tie this back together at the end with a couple. There's use cases, like I said, across industry, across departments, and wherever you work, and we want to show that. So the first thing I want to do is set this up in a whiteboard. And again, something you guys have all seen these days. I tried drawing this out myself, and our team, both our marketing team and everybody on said, you cannot draw. So we're going to do this for you. And so I'm not going to try to blow white smoke this again. This has been something that has been recorded, but we're going to walk through this drawing and kind of help lay this out and explain some terms and just reason why this is important. And then AYDEN will take this and my favorite part of this and actually show you in the tools how this is being used and how you actually can go through and do this. And so I'll do some setup and then we'll kind of go back and forth a couple of times, but we'll try to keep this pretty smooth. The example that we want to look at is from a retail perspective. So like I mentioned, back in the 1950s, if I was going to buy a suit, I go and I find my favorite, most of the time, mom and pop store, some local store that I work at, go in. Usually I have my favorite tailor there, talk to him about what colors I want, different cuts I want, pick out some accessories that go with it, shoes, shirt, tie, or if I'm porter, I'll pick out a new bow tie, whatever it's going to make my suit complete. And then they'll do some measurements on me. And then usually a few weeks to a month later, I'll have my suit back, which was great. It looked great. It was custom fit for me and everything, and great. Our expectations have kind of changed these days, and while those are still something that we do a lot of times, and I still like to have a custom suit made if I ever can afford it, the process has changed for how we buy and our expectations. So today, a lot of times we're not going in a store. If we do, it's going to be a bigger retailer where they have lots of different selections, so I can go and pick these things out, put them together, maybe have some small alterations and have them that day, or if not in a day or two. But more often it's probably going online or even on my app. We have apps now that it can take a picture of me and it can do my measurements, or I can put in my measurements some way. And it can actually, from there, do all the things that that tailor would do, add my accessories and everything. And now I've got my suit probably in a day or less. So expectations have changed. Now, no longer am I willing to go and go through that whole process of planning and doing all the things that go into it, and then waiting for a suit to come to me a month later. Now I want my suit today. I've got maybe a meeting at the end of the week. I need to do a big presentation that just popped up, and I need a new suit to be able to do it. And I want to be able to have that within the day or so. So expectations have changed from us as a consumer, and thankfully the technology to do that has changed as well. So what does all this mean? Again, as we mentioned, speed of business now is just completely different than it's ever been. Everything needs to happen, and everything needs to happen now, not later, not in a month from now, but now. And again, it doesn't mean that the data warehouses and those data lakes and the other data processes that we use and the MDMs that we're creating, is not there, and it's not going to still be some of those projects that take longer time. But I need solutions that I can add on to that give me that real-time ability to be able to meet at the speed of business right now and put that out in front of people. The speed of analytics, just because there's so much stuff now, is either decreasing or staying the same. The ability for us to be able to meet that has not changed as much as the speed of business. And that's where a lot of these new technologies, like you see data ops, model ops, and then a lot of these other things like we're talking about with hyperconverged analytics, being able to pull streaming data and making analytics at real time. That's why this is so important, because our expectations from the consumer have changed, and our ability to be able to meet that and beat our competition, who is also doing these things, is there and is not going away. So again, from a ability to be able to win, there's lots of different things. And as we look at different industries, again, I won't go deep into these because we're going to be looking at retail for this demo. But from a logistics standpoint, understanding, like I said, with the FedEx, understanding where my packages are or where my shipments are at all times, streaming, what is the best routes to get there? How do gas prices affect my ability to be able to get this at the lowest cost possible? We have clients who are doing route swapping. So for the sake of the people who are driving the trucks, being able to trade off loads from time to time to get people home more. There's safety issues in there. There's tons of things on the logistics side where all this stuff is real-time data. And if it's not there in real time, it's too late. The same thing on the manufacturing standpoint. So an importer mentioned on the pharmaceutical side and how they're manufacturing drugs. We've seen something very similar from a client of ours who was who made popcorn. And they were able to measure in real time, streaming the temperature of the actual kernels to make sure that they were optimal kernel temperature to pop, and a ton of other things that went into that, and to make sure that they were giving the most quality, the least amount of kernels in the bag, and all those type of things that are so key to creating the best popcorn possible. And again, that goes across manufacturing, industries and products as well. And then from an ability to be able to be more energy efficient, there's a ton of things there again that need to be monitored. But the other thing that we see and we're involved in as well is from a healthcare perspective. And I'll talk about this, so I won't spend much time on this now. But being able to not just see the 360 review of somebody, which is so important, but in real time being able to take things like vitals from the client or from your patient, or being able to get a wearable device and be able to get those things in real time streamed to you and be able to match that up with who your customer is and know, hey, I need to call this person. They have something going on right now I need to take care of. So again, lots of different industries, lots of different use cases for this. But today we're going to stick and talk about retail again, just to make this something simple. Everybody's used to selling something, no matter what that is. So we want to be able to talk about and show you through a demo, a retail example that we came up with. there's a few things that we want to be able to, at least for this demo, be able to talk about. And I'll set some of these up, and AYDEN will go much more deeper into this. And then before we get to the analytics side of this, I'll set up some of these even more. But some of the things that we're going to be looking at is what are the buying habits of customers? What is the most valuable thing to them as they are shopping, and how can we interact with them to make sure that they're getting access to that and seeing those things in the right way? And what things are mostly bought together. Again, it gives us ability to cross-sell very quickly, and that's something that all industries are doing, whether you're a retailer or wherever. And which items can be promoted and purchased as a bundle. And there's a ton of other things, again, that we'll talk about, but these are going to be some of the things in the demo, at least, that we want to be able to show you how we can use real-time analytics as things are streaming in, creating data science against that streaming data and the actual customer data that's there, and be able to show you some things that can change the way that you do business now. And again, just kind of as a synopsis for this, and see, I told you this is not me drawing. Again, data is there. All of us have data. Some of us have it in data lakes, data warehouses, data puddles, whatever we want to call it, in real source systems. Streaming data is, again, changing the way that we do things, and it's not anything new, but the way that we use it and the speed that we use it with is changing. And so that's where a big part of this is coming from, is how do we use that streaming data? How do we apply data science to that? And as AYDEN will show you here in a second, that's something that is not going to be something you have to even be a data science to do. Now, if you are and you have that, I think you can create some really in-depth things on that. But the tools that we have now are allowing business users and data constituents to create those things within the tools using pre-made components and either low code or no code things, and being able to create those on your own. And then again, pulling analytics real time from that and getting that in front of your customer service reps, the people who are there with the clients, your salespeople who are talking to people on a normal basis, whoever it is that's in front of your clients or needing things to be able to react in real time to things that are going on, making sure that analytics is getting to them in a real way is something that we want to be able to show, and it's something we feel like is going to be, as Porter mentioned, just the way that we're moving forward with analytics in the future. I'll pass this over to AYDEN again, just reiterating, speed of things is what we're talking about for this one. So AYDEN, I'll let you take over and start the fun and the real part. Everybody wants to see the actual demo of this stuff working.
Amazing. All right. Thank you so much, Tim. So let's put all of what Tim's just talked about into action. I'll be giving a concrete demo on how we tackle what Tim just described with TIBCO technology. I'm going to be showing off a product recommendation tool. It's a form of personalized marketing based on predictive analysis. If it's a model basically that predicts a customer's needs and shows them offers and products based off of their habits. The use case here, again, is personalized marketing, and the examples in retail, but it applies to any industry. If they're dealing with customers or purchases in any capacity, this is applicable. In terms of data science techniques, we're going to see customer segmentation by predicted lifetime value, combined with market basket and RFM analysis to recommend a product and a next best action. Don't worry if you're not familiar with these terms. Tim will brief you more on them shortly. But with these recommendations, we're looking at tackling both increasing cross-selling opportunities and then mitigating churn. The tool here that we're just about to show off was built using big data on customer level sales from an online retailer that are selling a variety of household products. We're using TIBCO Spotfire for visual analytics integrated with TIBCO data science for the underlying models. So Spotfire is kind of acting as the cockpit, right? And data science as the engine, pushing out those models to Spark, and that's a large-scale data processing engine, and computing this all in database without having to move any information anywhere. Another thing that's important to note before we get started is we can do all this in WebFocus as well, and I'll talk a little bit about the advantages of a WebFocus deployment of this kind of tool later in the demo. So the first thing we need to tackle in our creation of a recommendation engine is, of course, our data. The raw data here is enormous, and it's not ingestible by a product recommendation model in its current state. And when you're working with huge data sets, it's not practical and it's not feasible to push that data directly into a model. So first, we're using TIBCO data science for data prep, right? Cleaning, joining data sets, creating new variables, all without moving data between systems. Here we see the clean data. It's transactions by customer ID grouped into broad categories, and then some subgroups. We've also set up a quick heat map here showing product segments and item hierarchies by their frequency. But what's most important here is to show how we worked backwards to figure out how we went from the raw data to a state which is ready to be fed into our model. Well, that's done with this button right here. And what that's doing is it's linked to a typical data science workflow in the background. Every dashboard you'll see today has a button like this linked to a typical data science workflow. This is key in allowing end users of these dashboards to run their own analysis, right, without exposing that underlying model. But of course, speaking of the underlying processes, let's get a glimpse of what that looks like under the hood. So this is within our data science tool here. Tasks are split into workflows. You can see the first three here are dealing with data prep for transactional, categorical, and customer data respectively. What's important here is that the platform is designed from the ground up to be both accessible and collaborative, right? So we need to bridge the gap between the consumers of predictive models and the developers that are creating them. More and more, we're seeing this paradigm of business users that are actively participating in the data science pipeline. An example like this is perfect. This workflow approach, basically exposing layers of complexity as we drill down deeper, encourages non-technical participation in the life cycle of these models. And that's absolutely essential for these business use cases to be successful. So clicking on a workflow, it's a drag and drop interface populated by operators. That's each of these little nodes here. We can think of these as little modules for specific tasks like filtering, aggregating, feature engineering, training models, of course. I don't need to be a data scientist to build a workflow like this. It's all no code and exposed in a way to encourage that participation in and monitoring of development by business users. The workflow here is dealing with transactional data. We've used an operator to access it in Hadoop. So I'll just quickly show off the data. We've also collected some summary statistics here, showing that this data consists of over 1 million transactions. The other operators in this workflow are tackling things like filtering out canceled and null customers. Just to give you a quick example, if we drill down on these canceled orders, we can see how that underlying filter is defined. But remember, this is all happening in database, so I'm not moving anything to perform these operations. We're also running tasks like feature engineering done here, defining new variables, and after that's all complete, we're exporting this to an intermediary data set right here. We can, of course, write to a huge variety of databases and formats, which any other tool can access. I'll show you another workflow, reading this intermediary data set, which is the later data prep workflow. What it's doing is it's reading in those intermediate results from the previous flows and then exporting that directly to Spotfire for visualization with just a single node. So typical data science is essential for operations on big data. And because of this workflow approach, it gives non-coding team members the opportunity to contribute to and understand these processes. All right, so jumping back into Spotfire, the next step in our process is to get a better understanding of our business with some exploratory data analysis. Exploration is really an essential step in the data science lifecycle. You need to learn about your data before building a model. You need to understand, patterns present in that data and determine what will be important for the modeling steps. And of course, we need to understand any limitations of our data. Here we can see our best and worst selling categories by volume and value of these sales. We have a relatively stagnant period here between January and June, so we can filter to just those months. The spider chart here on the right is a great way to visualize multivariate data in the form of a two-dimensional visualization. And of course, I can change these metrics on the go. Once we have an understanding of these distributions of our sales and our products, we can dive deeper into specific analyses. But this step is really essential, and dashboards like this give me the tools to take a sort of 1,000-foot look at my data and understand the patterns present there so I can build the best model going forward. So before we jump into the specific analysis, though, I'll hand it back over to Tim to discuss the terminology we'll be encountering throughout the rest of the demo.
Thanks, Aiden. Let me see if I can share this out correctly this time. Here we go. All right, you guys should be seeing a screen that says Stage 2 KPIs. So again, like Aiden said, and thanks again for just showing that stuff. And for you guys who are familiar with those products, I think I'm sure that all looks great to you. Some of you guys may be new to some of those. And these are exciting things there. And Porter mentioned this back in his part too, just exciting parts that can go in to help make this just that much easier. We still have people who are using Python code to be able to embed in some of their stuff like we showed. I think we demoed that sometime last year on one of our previous webinars and some other things on the web focus side. But being able to use these tools is making it that much easier with a low code, no code, not having to be a data scientist to be able to do these things and just truly being able to do this stuff in the products that you already have. So to kind of, as Aiden mentioned, to kind of set this up, we want to go into a few different analysis pieces, at least set up the terminology for them. If you're in the retail industry, you already know these. If not, these may be new to you, or maybe something that just means a little bit something different to you in your industry, but very similar terminology. None of these are very complicated. Market basket analysis, and he's already mentioned the term on this before. Again, the main thing on this is if you're shopping and you buy bread, what are most likely things that you'll buy with that? Probably more commonly for people who are on here, if you're online shopping and you're buying a new suit, like we mentioned before, or a dress or whatever it is that you need to buy, what accessories do you need to buy with that would complete that? So you don't have to go shopping all over the place. It's actually telling you the things that you would want to buy together with that. So again, being able to do that is something that's not new. Being able to do that in real time with someone who comes in the store or shopping online, in real time, seeing conditions around them, streaming in data and being able to do that all on the fly is something that is truly new and exciting, at least in the way that we're doing it here at TIBCO, and something that we want to be able to show again in the demo. RFM analysis, again, if you're not in retail, this may be something that's new to you, but it's very simple. Recency, frequency, and monetary. Recency being how often has it been since I've either shopped at your store or bought something at your store. So that's helpful to understand. If someone's coming in, maybe they haven't been there in a while. Maybe as a customer service rep, you want to be able to talk to them and find out, hey, what's going on? Are there some things that we can do that can help make sure that we're getting to see you more often? Frequency, what items are you buying the most often while you're here? So frequency of either coming or buying certain products, make sure that we make it easier for you to do those things. And of course, monetary, what are you spending most of your money on? What products are you buying the most, and that we are making the most profit from while we're selling to you. So I'll know to kind of focus my effort on those types of things. So again, nothing new as far as overall concepts from what you guys have seen, but this is something from a retail perspective that is very valuable, especially if you're putting this in front of someone who's talking to that client. Whether you're in a bank and you can talk to someone about why have you not been in here for the last 6 months? Is something gone? Is there some things that we can do to make sure that that we get to see you more often? Whatever those things are, making sure we can find the right way to cross sell, as we talked about in our last one. All these things kind of come together. So very important. And or marketing is the other thing that you can think of. How are we marketing the right things to get people to come in and buy things more often? Again, lots of different things that we can look at here, and Aiden walk through those a little bit more with you. Customer lifetime value. This is something I think is probably going to be common to everybody because everybody has customers, and we want to understand what value over either the lifetime or some period of time are they bringing to us, and then how can we continue to increase that value to our company as well, and to them as well. So being able to understand, I hate that word CAC. It sounds kind of like you're clearing your throat, but understand the value that they are bringing, and being able to predict ways to be able to increase that value. And that's where some of the streaming comes very important. It's very easy to see these things in hindsight, but with the client in front of me, how am I using some of these things? Maybe it's cross-selling, what we talked about in the market baskets analysis, or talking to them about frequency that they've been here, or things that they're buying. Whatever it is, how do I continue to help them to increase their frequency that they're buying from us, the overall monetary value of the things that they're doing, and make sure we're offering the right thing to create the highest customer lifetime value for ourselves and for the client, to make them a happy customer overall. And again, these are things that Aiden's going to walk to in deeper detail, and actually, more importantly, show you how some of these things come into play. And then my favorite part of the demo is actually when we talk about what does this look like as far as being the person in front of them, whether it's customer service rep, salesperson, just whoever it is who's interacting with your clients on a day-to-day basis. What does this mean to them? And Aiden, I'll stop sharing and pass it to you so you can delight us with the demo.
Awesome. So as Tim just described, the next area I really need to understand is my products, right? And how they relate to each other. Market basket analysis gives us that deeper understanding of how products are brought together by finding patterns, determining connections between purchases so we can increase our cross-selling potential. Don't get confused by the terminology on this dashboard. The antecedent up here on the top, that's an item, or in our case, an item set that a customer is purchasing, while the consequent is the item that follows. So for example, this first row is measuring how likely I am to buy a game or a toy, given I have some arts and crafts items in my cart or my market basket. Support here, on the right there, simply emphasizes how popular these two item sets are. And lift, for example, says how likely a toy is to be purchased when arts and crafts are purchased. A score of 1 there indicates they're independent. So anything above 1 means these items are bought together in some capacity. We can again run the data science workflow by clicking this button here. And this network graph here is a great way to map out these relationships. We can see again, arts and crafts, games and toys, they might not be our largest categories. Their nodes aren't as large in size as kitchen supplies, for example, but they're central nodes. There's a lot of connections, so they have a lot of cross-sell opportunity. I want to drill down a bit more with this network graph. I can do that with a bunch of filters. I can maybe increase the minimum lift I want to visualize to get maybe a deeper understanding of just these most popular products. When done well, these sort of insights make it easier for consumers to buy something they were already thinking about. So this is a sophisticated way for businesses to personalize their marketing efforts, which, as Tim described, is really a necessity in the modern landscape. Showing consumers a variety of products and hoping that something piques their interest isn't an effective way to increase sales or retention. Modern consumers expect a more tailored approach. So once we've mapped out which products have cross-sell opportunity, we need to segment our customers in a way that's relevant to the business outcome we're trying to achieve. In this example of personalized marketing, we'll be using RFM analysis. RFM is commonly used as a starting point for customer segmentation in e-commerce. How high or low a customer ranks for each of these 3 metrics, as Tim touched upon: recency, when was the customer's last purchase? They might still have that product on their mind, right? And they're more likely to purchase or use that product again. Frequency, how often did the customer make a purchase in a given period? And then monetary, how much did they spend in that period? These metrics determine what segment a customer gets assigned to. And again, these measurements are centered around a retail scenario, but they're fully adaptable to your business. We can take a look at at-risk customers here under the cannot lose them section. These are a segment of top priority customers. We can see here they spent a lot at a decent frequency, but they've been dormant for some time and they need our immediate attention before they're demoted to lost. When we get into the next best product recommendation, we can target potential loyal customers. That would be this segment. To increase how much they spend, right? And capitalize on their engagement. And of course, we can also, view the at-risk customers and recommend a promotion or a campaign to re-engage them and mitigate churn. Again, all these dashboards have an underlying data science workflow. So I'll quickly hop back into our data science platform to show you how we calculate RFM. So we can see here right at the start, there's an operator for monetary, recency, and frequency. For example, to calculate monetary here, if we just drill down one more time, we can see it's grouping by customer and performing a whole bunch of aggregations here on the right. This is then fed down the workflow to recency and frequency, and they're all ranked here, given an overall score right here, and then mapped to a segment based on their combined scores with this mapping here. We can do some basic visualizations while we're working on the flow. But of course, we'll be exporting with this node directly to Spotfire for more sophisticated visual analysis. All right, one last dashboard before we see the product recommendation tool, we'll further be segmenting customers by their expected lifetime value. If we want to generate a product recommendation, we first need to select a group of customers we want to target. Customer lifetime value helps us estimate the overall cost of benefit of each segment and each individual customer. So let's say we want to target potential loyalists. Remember, these are new customers with a good potential to become valuable customers. And maybe we have a limited budget for this campaign. So we'll select the higher end of the customer lifetime value. All right, we can click on generate recommendations and we're sent to the last dashboard. Here we're given our top recommendations based off of Lyft. So up here on the top, we can see, as we noticed in our initial analysis, games, gift items, arts and crafts. So now if another of these products are in your basket, then it's great to recommend the other ones. These you may also like recommendations are weighted by support, which, remember, that indicates which of only our top selling products would be best to target these customers with. And then lastly here, let's try something different. That's populated with item sets that have low support, with a smaller number of customers and purchases, but which this specific group of customers has a higher than average affinity for, like ornaments and jewelry are perfect to target potential loyalists with. And then lastly, we're given a list of top customers here on the top right by ID to contact with these recommendations. This is a dashboard we could get in front of every rep. So when a customer walks in, they have this information in front of them, or when, give it to every marketing personnel so they can coordinate engagement campaigns. When it comes to these enterprise scale deployments, this is where a web-focused deployment of these dashboards linked with data science really shines. But this is just phase one. As digital marketing and social media have become more and more important, customers are expecting to know them in real time, right? The capability to serve them and provide relevant offers is mission critical, whether they're interacting with you in person, through a call center, or in a digital space. So I'm just gonna take a quick pause here. Sorry to add an extra cut, but let me just, sorry, Ben is here. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna put a cut here anyway so that it looks smoother on the transition. Just stop right here. All right. So when a customer has something in their basket on my online store, I want to recommend another product to them before they check out and before they click off my website. When a customer is speaking with one of my reps over the phone or in person, I want them to be equipped with the information they need to deliver an exceptional customer experience. This is where what I've shown you ties into the broader TIBCO architecture and hyperconverged analytics. If and when I want to make these insights real time, I can seamlessly integrate TIBCO streaming with data science to automate these recommendations and maximize cross-sell. In the past, it's been difficult and expensive to analyze real-time data feeds, but TIBCO streaming allows me to build these real-time applications that operationalize data science models. Whether they're embedded in applications to automate decisions or surfaced in operational dashboards, whether they're combined with historical data or making dynamic and adaptive data agile predictions, we can and we have tackled it all. At companies like the Bank of Montreal, one of Canada's preeminent financial institutions, we helped them triple offer acceptance with real-time event processing across channels to trigger actions based on the right events. So their response to customers was relevant. Instead of offers that were months old, they're now based on interactions that might have occurred just minutes ago. They also gave tellers an easy way to understand the customer and present personalized offers. Equipped with this information, they went from delivering offers only about 5% of the time to upwards of 60% of the time. This is where hyperconverged analytics really shines. In deployments spanning visual analytics, data science, and streaming, where different systems and different people are all working together in real time. So with that, I'd like to hand it back over to Tim to discuss how we can approach similar use cases in a whole bunch of other industries.
Thanks, Aiden. Let me flip back again. There we go. And lastly, we're coming up on time, so I want to make sure we go through this pretty quickly. But again, we've kind of walked through and seen some really cool things. And I like the last part more than anything, is just being able to, how do we get this in front of the people who really need this information right away? Because we've seen a lot of these dashboards, we've seen a lot of these things, and are able to see them kind of as they come in for corporate management or from different people within the organization that want to be able to look at things, and how these things have affected it, over the last week or day or whatever. But how do we get these things in front of people? And why is it important that we get these things in front of people right away and pull in this streaming data and do these analytics off of off of this in front of them? And of course, we keep talking about, from a customer service representative, being able to have that one-on-one with the client and offer them the right types of things, making sure that they stay loyal and doing those type of things. With the salesperson, making sure, again, we're offering the right things when we're talking to them and can lead those conversations in the right way. But, for other things like clients, we talk about, people who do warehousing. We have one client who is having issues with, it was varied feedback depending on conditions like weather or how busy they were at the time, or certain other things that were causing the truckers who were delivering things to the warehouse to have negative comments about them and negative experience. And so if we put these things in front of the people who are working with those guys, understand customer lifetime value. This is an important client to us. This is someone that we know we want to take care of and make sure that we're getting extra attention to, or we can do this, and this, depending on certain conditions around that, and create solutions around that to help that experience better. That's where this stuff becomes incredibly valuable and business changing. So now, for all the people who are really driving our business, for all of our clients, constituents, or whoever it is that's driving our business, that we're creating those touch points and making those touch points be as positive as possible, using everything around us in real time. And that's where it truly comes valuable. And we've worked with a lot of clients to really understand where those are. One of them that we have worked on in a product that Amtex is a part of is a secure project. And it is a healthcare project that we are obviously bringing in a 360 degree of patients. It's very common these days from a healthcare perspective, as well as other ones. But healthcare, I think, was kind of one of the leaders in this, being able to see the 360 view of a patient and provider and those type of things. But where this is kind of taken a step further is, and many of you have experienced this in small ways, was especially with wearable devices. Now I can have a patient of mine, either it's through an iWatch that they're already wearing, or a ring that is able to get vitals through them. Some type of wearable devices to be able to constantly be pulling in different vital signs that I need to be worried about, different things I want to be thinking about as their provider, and understand, are there opportunities for, if certain conditions are being met on the fly right then, I need to say, hey, you need to come in. There's some things we need to talk about from some of the readings I'm getting, and not when they come to the next visit, but in real time, so I can proactively prevent things that would happen. And again, there's tons of use cases around this, including and we have bands that go around women who are pregnant, and they need to be able to get certain vital signs to see if they're going to need to be able to what time they need to operate. And there's different things that go from that, but tons of different applications for this that I won't spend a whole lot of time on now, because we could go forever on that. But certainly being able to get that data in real time, rather than waiting till the next visit, rather than waiting till some event happens, being able to see that in real time and be able to treat those proactively is huge part of where healthcare is going, and something that we're excited to do. And hopefully another example of what can make this so valuable. And now if I can get my screens to move. All right. And I won't go again through all the different reading we have here. The other one that we wanted to kind of highlight really quick, again, something that everybody would be familiar with on the front end at least, is law enforcement. Again, this is something that we were excited to work with TIPO on. The ability to be able to read real-time events, whether it's what crimes are happening in certain places, other conditions that go into helping understand what type of crimes may happen in a certain place. And there's tons of different ways to do that, to really predict, where do I need to have my people at? Where do I need to position in people to be able to make sure that they're there to prevent certain things that happen, because certain conditions are happening. I'm reading that in real time. Being able to truly give an officer the ability to be able to, and it's not on this screen, but we do have another screen on here where they can actually pull up a live feed before they even go and see them. So string live feeds are embedded into the actual analytics application to give them a live view before they step into something, so they have a feel for what's going on. So just the ability to be able to get those conditions in real time and streaming, that's really the only way that you can do it to make an immediate, which in these cases are so important to make immediate impact on what you're going to be doing there. So again, there's tons of different use cases. We could go on and on about these, but we wanted to kind of show a couple more really quickly right before we jump off, or at least stop this part of the presentation and make sure we can kind of tie this back to something that other than retail, which is so important. I think everybody understands that. But what are some of the other ones? And there's tons of these out there, and we'll be glad to spend some time with you, truly helping you understand as well, what those are. That's again, whether you're a Spotfire, web focused customer, or whatever you're using out there from an analytics standpoint. What does this mean to you? This application that we have right here that you see the screenshot from was all in Web Focused Designer. And so there's tons of things that we can do in that, and with other platforms as well. So excited to be able to have these conversations again. I feel like this is a big place of where companies are making a huge impact in their businesses today, whether it's saving lives in the matter of law enforcement, or increasing your customer lifetime value if you're selling products to people, or whatever it is that you're doing, or whatever it is that's truly important to you, making sure that you're able to bring that data in and be able to give analytics to people at the time that it really matters to be able to make those decisions and make a huge impact for your organization. So with that, we're going to call the presentation an end, and then we'll start looking at Q&A. But before we do that, we'll jump into the actual drawing and make sure that we get everybody gift cards before the hour's up, and we move off to something else. Thanks, guys.